Now, an hour of clarity for exhausted people of our nation mired in toxic partisanship. Left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate y'all being here. We're live on WYSL until 1 p.m., so give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And shout down the line to our friends listening over at WACK out in Newark and our friends listening online at A Free Solution Facebook page, A Free Solution YouTube channel, the Kevin Wilson pages, the Kevin Wilson Twitter, wherever you're listening today. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you showing up. Again, it's a live show. Give us a call, 585-346-3000, or leave your comments. We have a couple topics to talk about today. So, we'll talk about the Amir Locke, what happened out there, and we'll also talk about a story I saw this morning too, related to COVID test and kind of whatever else comes up too. So if you have a story that you think we should talk about today, again, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000, or leave your comments, and if it's good, we'll talk about it. All right. So first, though, we'll talk about this. I named the title of the show, Police Kill Legal Gun Owner, right? And so this is about a 22-year-old man who was shot by a Minneapolis police officer. This was a no-knock raid. This guy was not a suspect in this. So there's always an interesting thing when an incident like this happens. A major difference between how it gets initially reported by the police, how they tell the public about an incident like this, and then what ended up actually happening and what we saw on body cam footage. And so I want to talk about kind of the policing issues related to this, and I also want to talk about the legal gun owner issues of this too, because again, if you don't think that this could happen to you too, wrong address, you hear someone break into your house in the middle of the night, and you happen to have your firearm somewhere nearby, you don't know who's there, they didn't announce themselves, they didn't knock on the door, they just kicked it in. How do you respond as a legal gun owner? And are you going to make the right decision? Do you know in that split second decision, the being woken up in the middle of the night, do you know that those are police going through your door? Or if it's someone who is going to hurt you and your family, you don't know. And so as a legal gun owner, how does something like this, what does this mean for your rights too? So we'll kind of go over what actually happened here. What's interesting is that initially, the police had reported that, again, this was a warrant in which they announced themselves. They said that that turned out to not be true. This was they had also claimed that this man, Amir Locke, had pointed a gun at them. Turns out that wasn't true either. He hadn't exactly done that. They called him a suspect in this. Amir was, in fact, not a suspect. He was a guy just asleep on his couch, and he wasn't named in the warrant. They weren't going after him. But you get 3 seconds. He's just under a blanket. Someone comes in. He happened to have his gun nearby, and that's what they said. They said, "Oh, well, he had a gun, so justify shooting him." Listen, if you happen to have your weapon nearby, do you want to be blamed for police coming in and shooting you if you happen to have your weapon nearby? No, again, this is why I say this is an issue for gun owners. This is why I'm frustrated with organizations like the NRA not coming out and commenting on this, because it's a problem in its own right? Again, Man sleeping on his couch. Police come in, shoot him 3 seconds later. In the chaos and confusion, no knock raid. They lied about the report. If there hadn't been body cam footage, the local news there would have just, plastered the police story all around. Again, we shouldn't take. I know, folks. This isn't an anti-police thing. This is really an anti-government. We shouldn't take government authority at their word every time. And I actually got another story later related to that too. It's interesting related to the Department of Defense, but we should always take them at their word, right? Like we should question that. But what ends up happening a lot of times is the police press release about these incidents where someone dies. First of all, they use passive voice, which drives me nuts. Suspect killed, rather than what actually happens. Police shot an innocent man. That's what happened here. But the suspect killed in raid, right? Passive voice. No one's to blame for that. Instead of who did it, why did it happen, what happened. But if we didn't have body cam footage, if we didn't have people asking tough questions, this would have just been it. This guy would have died. Everyone would have assumed that he must have done something wrong. He had pointed a gun at officers. So of course, they had to defend themselves. This was, a warrant, and they must have been doing the right thing and trying to execute that warrant. No, none of that ended up being true. All of that was a lie coming from a local government, a lie coming from police. And now this 22-year-old man is dead. Again, and I will point out too, this is a legal gun. This guy had the right and had asked permission nicely from his government, had a concealed carry permit, apparently, and he still died. Did all the right things. So when you do all the right things and something like this happens, what do we do next? How do we hold folks accountable? I mean, there are ways that we can do that. There's been bills like Rand Paul's bill going through the Senate. I don't think it's there anymore, but going through the Senate to make no-knock raids illegal. There's stuff that could have been done on that. Now, there's so much partisan bickering over this stuff. It's hard to get some of these bills through. It would be great if we could come to a bipartisan consensus on something like this. Like, hey, maybe this is there. If it isn't banned outright, no knock raids, then at least have very, very strict criteria for how this moves forward. And if any of you are listening today and you're a police expert and you know about this criteria and you want to call in and talk about it, so I don't know about this stuff. All I know is that a man is dead, and I think that this relates to legal gun ownership in the same way that the Breonna Taylor case also related to legal gun ownership. Because again, no knock raid, middle of the night, doesn't know what's going on, assumes that it's Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend kicking in the door and going to hurt them. He grabs his gun, tries to defend himself. Turns out it's the police. And as soon as, and he had shot one of them. And, in that case, he was charged for doing so, even though, at least initially, we ended up beating those charges. But he had to go through the court system to prove his innocence for a situation like that. And that shouldn't have had to happen. And it's not, again, not the only time it's happened. There's also Andrew Coffey IV in Florida. Ended up similar situation. He was they actually ended up accusing him or charging him with murder of his girlfriend, even though the police were the ones who shot his girlfriend, because same thing. He had a gun. I think in this case, I think there was an illegal gun in the house too, so he got in trouble for that. But the police came in, shot his girlfriend 10 times. He had opened fire to defend him and his girlfriend, and then they charged him with her murder, even though the police are the ones who shot him. There's also cases like Philando Castile, legal gun owner. It was a traffic stop. It was, a situation where he let them know, hey, I have firearm in the car, just letting you know it is, keeping my hands up. Police officer shot, killed him anyway. No charges. Where's the NR? Where are the gun rights organizations on this? And I haven't seen that. Usually GOA says something like this. I don't know if they've said anything about this one recently, but the NRA, to my knowledge, hasn't acknowledged this or any of these other cases, and they're supposed to be the flagship of defending gun rights. Nonsense. No, like it has to be for everybody in all these cases. And it seems like sometimes those rights, when they get violated by police, who are, to be, again, this isn't an anti-police statement, but they are the enforcement arms of the state. When police are the ones violating gun rights, a lot of conservative organizations, unfortunately, forget to use their voice to make sure that they're defending the gun rights from the very people who would be charged with actually taking away our guns. It's important to do that in every case. Anytime the government tries to do that, it's not just a bureaucratic not being able to get your gun thing. It's also the process of actually taking guns away or not respecting that right to self-defense in situations where the police have behaved recklessly, that we need to make sure that we're speaking out and making sure that right is protected. So something to think about, something to chew on for this Monday. I know, heavy issue for Monday early afternoon. But thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. If you have thoughts on this, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Oh, those injury attorney ads.
Hurt on your couch? Call 555-OUCH.
It's kind of cute watching that injury attorney buying breakfast for a crash test dummy, but while fun is fun, there's nothing amusing about getting your life back together after a personal injury or a motorcycle accident, or when you need defense for a DWI charge. Christopher Johnson takes your case seriously, and you'll feel like you're his only client because when you meet with him, your case gets 100% of his attention. So instead of cute singing jingles and magic phone numbers,
fall out of a tree? Call 33333.
write this number down and keep it with you. 585-415-3803. 415-3803. After all, Christopher Johnson knows you're no dummy. Get individual attention and integrity, experience, and expertise. Put the power of one on your legal team. 415-3803. Stay safe, be healthy, drive sober. Christopher Johnson, attorney, personal injury, car or motorcycle accidents, DWI defense.
As a veteran of the United States military, I can finally get the opportunity to enjoy special events, things that we couldn't afford, thanks to VetTix.
Every empty seat at a concert, a game, or a play is a missed opportunity to say thanks to a veteran and service member. We can give our veterans a special event where they too can create their own cherished memories. Visit vettix.org. Find out how you can make a difference in a veteran's life.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com, the official Mount Worstmore line of merchandise. Top quality tees, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who's front and center up on that mountain, and we think you'll recognize the other three. Mount Worstmore items make perfect gifts. They're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Mount Worstmore, locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
A free solution.
Free solution. There we go. Welcome back to A Free Solution. Again, we're live today on WYSL until 1 p.m. Give us a call, 346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And getting a few comments in here today. Tim O'Connor, a good friend, Thursday host and Friday co-host with me, says this is nowhere near as our Friday funny as our Friday shows. Yes. No, Monday I do more serious topics. If you want to listen to a fun show, Tim and I get weird on Fridays, and this is always a good time. And just a request from a commenter to repeat from Blake Smith said, can you repeat the information? Yeah, so this was in Minneapolis, and happened not too long ago. I'm going to share a link to an article about it so you can read up on what happened here, and how this happened. Again, we'd love to hear what you think. Again, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And this one, I'm gonna have to read up on this. Brian Sutton says, in Vancouver, Washington, the police arrived at a residence, immediately shot and killed the armed victim and arrested a thief. The man they killed was an off-duty cop. And so, yeah, I mean, situations like that too. Like, again, it could be off-duty cop. Like, people come in, they immediately react, and the training, understandably, is like you need to do what you can to preserve your life, as I understand that. And so you get that, but at the same time, you say, like, okay, like, well, is there something that we can do to prevent the deaths of legal gun owners? Again, the off-duty cop in this situation, in that situation, I have to read more about that. Brian, so you put a link, and you got to wonder, like, again, how can we do better here, and what does this mean for the Second Amendment? One of the solutions you get from the progressives to, like, well, see, if any of these people didn't have a gun in the first place, then we wouldn't have had this situation. It was caused by people having access to guns, and if the police officers didn't fear about losing their life because of the proliferation of guns on the street, then we wouldn't have incidents like this. And that's a backwards way of looking at our rights, because again, we have the fundamental right to defend ourselves, and the Second Amendment does not give us that right. The Second Amendment prevents the government from taking away that right, and that's a really important distinction. We already have that right. The Second Amendment just says, hey, we're putting it in writing here. The government can't take away our right to defend ourselves. They can't take away our right to bear arms. And folks want to say, well, if we don't want the state acting violently against us, then you need to take away your right to defend yourself. No, that's not the way that it should work. That's not the way it ought to work. But these sort of incidents happen all the time. And I'll be curious if what ends up happening in this situation, if the Black Lives Matter folks end up kind of making this an issue in that area too, or if it gets confused in the politics of, well, this 22-year-old young man did have a gun. Because again, we've seen this type of stuff before, where progressives will kind of be a little bit more quiet when it's a legal gun owner who was killed in a situation like this. And unfortunately, gun rights groups, when police are involved, tend to be a little bit more quiet about defending our rights in this situation. And really, both of these, there's valid criticism of, again, the no-knock rate itself, which what was originally approved was a raid where they're supposed to announce that they were entering. They entered the wrong address, as I understand. That the guy who was killed, Amir, was not on the actual warrant, and despite having a warrant that said that they were supposed to announce themselves, that they originally decided that they went ahead, did a no-knock raid anyway. So hopefully there's some level of accountability. It's still relatively fresh. Again, luckily there are things like body cam footage that we can see what happened. And that body cam footage is an interesting thing, because I think there's less debate about this today, maybe still some, but a lot of places have already adapted this, because it helps both police officers when they are in the right, and they have video evidence to show that they're in the right about a situation. And it also helps people who are in situations where police abuse their power, and you're able to see what actually happened and to sort through that and to hold anyone accountable. You would hope, again, it doesn't always happen, but you'd hope that, in a situation where that power is abused and someone's hurt, that you'd be able to hold them accountable for their actions, the police officers. Or, again, if you have someone who's actually doing something wrong, and police, arrest them, and sometimes have to use force in a situation. Sometimes you look at the police body cam footage and you're like, oh no, that's what maybe needed to happen. I remember seeing that case where, like, the story came out sometime last year where it's like, oh, police, shot young woman in this city, and then you see the body cam footage, like, no, that woman was trying to really hurt someone else, and you're like, all right, it's awful that the situation ended in that one being shot, but, like, also she was intending to hurt or kill another person, and police officers' actions may have saved that other person's life. And this other comment from Brian says, it seems that police use officer safety and fear for my life and as an excuse to shoot first and ask questions later. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the criticism level that police officers get. And if you were a police officer or you are work in that field, I'd love to hear from you. Again, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000 if you have thoughts on this. And that's a tough thing to do, because, again, we as citizens, we need to make sure that, like, our everyday actions aren't going to cause a police officer who fears for their life to hurt or kill us. That's not fair. These folks are supposed to be trained and are supposed to have the wherewithal to make sure they're able to accurately assess the situation and not hurt innocent people. I think that's a fair criticism to level at police. So again, I'm not exactly anti-police, but also I think that there's plenty of criticism they had in situations like this generally, because this isn't a problem unique to Minneapolis. It's something that happens in a lot of cities all over the country. So, as we've already pointed out in several situations, that situation in Vancouver that I still need to look up, in the Philando Castile case, in the Breonna Taylor case, in the Andrew Coffey case. All of those are just recent examples of this happening. There's some other ones that are murkier. There's some that never really make the news all that much. And I want to keep bringing these to light. Again, it's worth talking about. I think that the Second Amendment community needs to make sure that we're talking about what does this mean for us? What does this and for everyone generally? But what does this mean for us? What does this mean for our rights? And again, the progressive solutions to this of taking away our guns is a non-starter. It's ridiculous. Like, I mean, well, it's one of those things, right? Like, everything is an excuse to push their agenda. It's like, oh well, something happens involving a gun. Okay, take away guns. All right. Something happens in in the environment. Okay, so we need to end capitalism, stop global warming. So there's always like the go back to your core talking points, right? But again, we'd love to hear what other folks think. Again, leave your comments online or give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And with this case, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more information. Again, this is still relatively new, or relatively new in the sense that it just kind of came out like last week. I didn't feel like I was prepared to do a show on it when the news first broke at the end of last week, when Tim and I were doing our Friday show, which again we tried to make a little bit more fun. And we'll see if more information comes out, story changes at all. I try to be good. Sometimes I get these things wrong on either side, and I think I know the story, and turns out as we investigate deeper, it ends up being something that we didn't expect. But again, give us a call if you have thoughts on this. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We're going to be back with more on A Free Solution in just a few minutes. Talk to you soon.
Celebrating 35 years.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll see partly cloudy skies. Temperatures dipping back into the 20s, but not too bad out there. On Tuesday, a weak front will come through, kick up a couple of clouds, maybe a few flurries during the morning, early afternoon, but no accumulations expected. A few degrees colder, closer to 30 on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're back near 40. Could be a rain or snow shower later in the day with dropping temps, snow showers Thursday. I'm Rich Cadelia, WYSL.
Shop the WYSL store 24 hours for official apparel, drinkware, and gift ideas at WYSL1040.com.
For 59 years, it's been the late winter break, the early sign of spring that brings a smile to the face of every member of the family. Folks all over the Northeast wouldn't miss it. A visit to Cartwright's Maple Tree Inn, nestled in the forest outside Angelica, New York. If you haven't discovered this special destination, you don't know what you're missing. The Maple Tree Inn specializes in one thing only: buckwheat pancakes served family style, topped with the Cartwright family's signature maple syrup from thousands of taps in the Maple Grove right outside the restaurant. Eggs as you like them, maple milkshakes, and the Cartwright's own seasoned sausage are great accompaniments. The rustic setting and the scenic trip to the Maple Tree Inn are all part of the fun. Find out why families regularly make the trek from Rochester, Buffalo, all over the southern tier, even Canada, Germany, and Japan, just to experience the special treat. Cartwright's Maple Tree Inn, only open February 8th through April 10th. 585-567-8181. Get more information and driving directions at cartwrightsmapletreeinn.com.
Introducing Rock On Harley-Davidson and Rock On Power Sports, West Henrietta Road. Shop the greatest selection of legendary Harleys and save big on a wide array of used bikes. And Rock On Power Sports has rides from Honda, Kawasaki, and Yamaha. Rock On has a helpful staff to save you big money. The Rock On Service Department has expert technicians and a great supply of parts to get and keep you on two wheels. The Service Department has winterizing specials right now. Call for details. WYSL listeners get $500 off used motorcycles while supplies last. Rock On has side-by-sides, ATVs, and jet boats too. Anything that's fun and goes fast. On and off-road and on the water, shop the all-new Rock On first. Rock On Harley-Davidson and Rock On Motorsports, 2600 West Henrietta Road. Open Tuesday through Saturday. Call 424-2120. Visit rockonharleydavidson.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
All Seasons Wine and Spirits, East Main Street, Avon, for over half a century with the area's largest selection of New York State wines. Save 10% on a case of wine. You can mix and match. All Seasons Wine and Spirits has all the latest variety of flavored liqueurs. Open daily. All Seasons Wine and Spirits, East Main Street, Avon.
Did you know that half of the population avoids regular dental visits because of fear? Sedation dentistry, provided by a visiting anesthesiologist at Lakeview Dental, allows you to relax and safely correct years of complex dental problems. Remember that dental health affects whole body wellness, not just teeth. At Lakeview Dental, they understand your fears. Visit LavoniaSmiles.com or call 346-3028. Lakeview Dental, for the smile of a healthier you.
True financial health requires a holistic approach, a hallmark of Whitney & Company since its founding in 1975. Investment management is the main focus, plus guidance with retirement planning, maximizing Social Security benefits, Medicare questions, insurance evaluation, and more to help chart your financial path. Whitney & Company, an independent registered investment advisor, fee-based, focused for you and your family, and never product sales. Whitney & Company, like a family friend in finance. 232-6200. Visit whitneyandcompany.com.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're getting live here on WYSL until 1 p.m. Give us a call if you want to participate in the show, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Shout out to our friends over at WACK out in Newark and our friends listening online. Active group today. Appreciate y'all. The Free Solution Facebook page, Free Solution YouTube channel, Free Solution group, and the Kevin Wilson pages, wherever you are today. Appreciate y'all being here. And one more comment from Brian. I see a couple others in there too. We'll get to those. Brian says, Marvin Guy has been sitting in jail for 7 years without trial. He legally defended his home during a no-knock raid for a marijuana crime that he didn't commit and killing a cop. And so I haven't actually heard of Marvin Guy before. I just saw you listed a website there, freemarvinguy.com. So I'm going to read up on that. Looks like I just read over it briefly. So it looks like he's been in jail since 2014. There's no knock raid on his house. He shot a police officer and was getting charged with his murder for defending his home. It sounds like in a no knock raid that may or may not have even been intended for him. Again, I'm still reading up on it, so I'm sorry if I get details wrong. I just literally found out about it. So freemarvinguy.com. I'll check that out. So thanks for that. The point is there's dozens of these cases. This stuff happens all the time. Again, not everything ends up making it into notoriety for one reason or another. And that might be one of them. And I every time I say this, I want to make sure we leave with some potential solutions in this case. Again, in a situation like this, we'll hit up 4 solutions this time, right? So one is end no knock raids, like just stop doing it, or you need to set very, very strict criteria for doing this. Again, in this situation, it sounded like they had decided to do a raid where they would announce first and then go in and then change their minds. Okay, so like why'd that happen? There needs to be investigation of that. And if there wasn't a very, very good reason for doing that, and in this case the result was an innocent man being killed, then there needs to be some level of accountability. At the very least, people losing their jobs. Let me read that part. So Brian says, the worst part is he has no trial. 7 years, no trial. That's wild. I've heard about cases like this too, where people just sit in jail for years and years and years and don't actually get to go to trial. And that's a constitutional violation if I ever heard one. You have a right to speedy trial. So, assuming that's true, that's terrible. But so step one though is like end no knock raids. There are bills to do that, or at least set very, very strict criteria for what situations in which that's allowed. And if you go against what the recommendations of the police department are, or what's in a warrant, then okay, like there needs to be some consequences. At the very least, lose your job, but possible charges in that situation. And then related to that, ending qualified immunity. Again, this is something that's been debated in Congress, didn't end up really getting through. It's been debated in some other states, but qualified immunity basically says that because they're acting on behalf of the state, that they can't be individually held liable for their actions, even when their actions killed someone. So basically in civil suits. So there's another way to hold folks accountable. The other way is insurance. We've talked about insurance before. If you have professional insurance requirements for police officers who are, they can get reevaluated by insurance companies. Unions could even pay for it. It could be a thing, or it can be just part of the city budgets that you pay for insurance. But if that insurance gets too expensive, or insurance companies are no longer willing to insure someone, then that's a problem. That's a sign that maybe an officer should no longer be employed anymore. They're too big of a risk, not just to the population that they have to work with, but also to the pocketbooks and to the budget of the taxpayers. Because if they're getting sued and they're requiring payouts. In this case, right now it ends up being the taxpayers who pay that out. But if you had insurance requirements, then it'd be the insurance company who would pay it out. They don't want to lose that money anymore, and there should be some individual accountability and evaluation there. And that's another mechanism for holding people accountable. So that's a few things that we could do. Again, insurance, ending qualified immunity, ending no knock raids, and then just kind of either criminal or other civil liability for folks who break this rule. Now, I did want to get to another topic though, because and it's related. I can draw a connection between these two. Again, don't always believe the initial report that comes out from the government in situations where police kill someone. Sometimes they have a lot of incentive to maybe not tell you the whole truth. And I'm not saying that they're always lying. I'm just saying that it happens more often than you think. And speaking of questioning what government officials says, John, watching on YouTube, says, thoughts on State Department recently saying they have evidence Russia may be planning a false flag attack on Ukraine, and when journalists asked for any evidence of this, the Fed had nothing. Warmongers. Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up, John, because I was planning on talking about that anyway. And I'll share a tweet from Edward Snowden. He retweeted the Hill talking about this, and it is a very odd press conference. So you got someone from I think it's from the AP, a guy named Matt Lee, asking the questions about what the State Department is trying to make a claim of. State Department basically makes a claim that Russia is planning false flag attacks in Ukraine and will use those false flag attacks as a pretext for invasion. Now, maybe that is something that is actually happening, right? But that's a pretty extraordinary claim for the State Department to make. That's a pretty bold accusation. And making an accusation about another country like Russia and in a situation that is diplomatically tense needs to come with evidence, right? So if you're going to make that bold claim, that's something that it is understandable, in fact necessary, for journalists to be like, all right, if you're going to say that, what's your proof? How is this happening? You've just accused another power, that is fixing to maybe invade Ukraine of doing something that is going to be, I'd assume, a war crime. I don't know. It probably should be if it is. I mean, they've done stuff like this before. It's not a totally outrageous claim that Russia would do something like this. Russia's not the good guy in this situation, but it's a pretty bold claim to make. And the journalist is like, hey, this is a weird claim to make. This is you're talking about crisis actors and stuff, and the State Department is like, no, I presented the evidence. I have made this claim by saying that this is happening, and the journalist is like, no, you saying that something is happening is not the same thing as evidence. And the guy from the State Department ended up getting really aggressive about it. He's like, no, I've just said it. I've just told you that this is happening, so report on that, and I'm not quite quoting accurately, but he's like, so that's what it is. That's the evidence. I've said this thing. It's happening. And journalists like, no, you making a claim there's a difference between you saying something is happening and there being actual evidence of this happening. It's a bizarre conversation. This guy from the State Department assumed that him saying that was enough to have everyone take him at their word. Absolutely bizarre. No, you can't. You got to back extraordinary claims up with evidence. It sounds like we have a caller on the line, though. Jackson from Rochester. Jackson.
Well, my point is this. If the State Department is accusing false flag, so it takes one to know one. That's the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, I give you these school shootings, 9/11. So therefore, the State Department would recognize a false flag operation because they shouldn't be pointing fingers. Is that their point?
Well, Jackson, I'll tell you, I think if you're going to make that claim too, also need a solid amount of evidence, right? So I'm not sure that is true, but again, if you're if you're going to make that claim, especially if it's coming from the government, right, and in a situation where the consequences of being wrong mean possibly World War III, you need to make sure that you're right. You need to make sure that this stuff is accurate. And it's situations like this where the government just says, trust me, you don't need any evidence here, where people are like, no, the last few years, in addition to, and the reporter brought up, like, not having WMDs in Iraq, Kabul's going to be fine after we pull out, all this stuff. The reporter points out, hey, there's reason that we can't trust you. So if you're going to make a bold claim, you better back it up, because we've learned our lesson the hard way enough already.
I mean, so you're at the poker table and you're betting the house. Who do you want to face down betting against, Biden or Putin? Because I got to tell you, Putin is probably a better card player than Biden right now, judging on how Biden has been with his record.
He might be. I don't have to like either of them, though. I don't have to like either of them. And I know I don't have much time. I appreciate the call, Jackson. Maybe when we come back, I'll talk a little bit more about like the situation itself, what's going on over there, and again, why press conferences like this drive me nuts. More reason, like, I almost want to laugh at the government, but more reason not to trust the state. Appreciate y'all listening today. Appreciate the phone calls like that one and the comments. Give us a call, 585-346-3000, 585-346-3000. We'll be back just a few on A Free Solution.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Dear Dr. Sussman.
Dear Dr. Sussman, I just wanted to write to all the wonderful people who work with Dr. Sussman and Dr. Pogel at the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Each person in the office made me feel my smile.
Not only am I completely happy with my smile, but I feel you've been there for me with all my dentistry
I've had several dentists in my life, but never a dentist of your caliber. You have state-of-the-art.
You keep current in your field as evidenced by your numerous diplomas and certificates, and your entire staff is really the cream of the crop.
I'm thrilled with the outcome of your skills and artistry. It's made such a difference in my life.
Dr. Sussman, Dr. Pogel, and the entire staff at the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry take great pride in providing not only advanced dental care, but extraordinary cosmetic dentistry. They love what they do and have a partnership with their patients toward long-term dental health.
For a bright, confident, beautiful smile.
Thank you, Dr. Sussman.
Thank you, Dr. Pogel.
Thank you.
Change your life, change your smile.
For more information, call the Center for Cosmetic Dentistry at 22 Smile or visit 22-smile.com.
WYSL. The WYSL store is now open, and your car's crying for an official Voice of Liberty bumper sticker. There's a great selection to help you show your love of God, liberty, and the Constitution. Here are just a few available right now. Shut up, Fauci. Kathy Hokum. No more masking. Open the freaking schools. Scam alert January 6th. No vax mandates. God, please help us. Close the Mexican border. Save America. Stop voting for Democrats. Support the Second Amendment. And your mask doesn't protect squat. But there's more. These are standard weather-resistant bumper stickers guaranteed to get you horn honks and thumbs up in traffic. Choose from other locally made WYSL Voice of Liberty merch too, like tees, hoodies, drinkware, and more. Perfect gifts for any Liberty lover you know. Be sure to check out the exclusive WYSL Mount Worst Morris shirts, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting our 4 worst presidents. Guess who's front and center? Be free. Make a statement. Shop the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
A Free Solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson for today. Thanks again for joining us. And we're live WSL until 1 p.m. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. It's 585-346-3000. Or leave your comments if you're listening online during the live show. Happy to hear from all of them. Michael says, recent events have me thinking the State Department is gaslighting. Yeah. That's fair. No, you're crazy for not believing us. Why would you believe us? Wild. No. Tim says, perhaps the State Department declared it, and it's a pretty serious allegation. Yeah, they've declared it. Why should we question any further? And Brian says, stay home and save lives should be our foreign policy. Love it. Love it. You know, if you all know my politics, you know where I stand on foreign policy issues. Like generally, we should butt out with this. Again, I don't want us to have such an aggressive response that this ends up throwing us into another regional conflict in Europe. Like we don't want that. No one wants that. That's a pretty dangerous situation when you have what would essentially be a proxy war between two powers. And we've already kind of seen this play out, and we've seen kind of the inability of us to be able to respond effectively to that with the Crimea situation. Again, remember this happened a few years back where Russia just kind of took that region, and then they pretended that they weren't sending in like their soldiers to occupy it. But that's very clearly what happened. As soon as they had a government in Ukraine that was more pro-Western than pro-Russia, then they started taking aggressive actions to reverse that trend by force. Excuse me. Man, I got like 2 hours of sleep last night with my baby, so that's I'm mixing up my words today. I apologize. Now, what's interesting with this situation again is there's nationalist elements at play. There's kind of propaganda and counter propaganda going on. Here's something that drives me nuts though. With some of my anti-war friends, again, I love you, but don't believe the stuff that Russia says, like saying like, oh, Ukraine's full of fascists, blah, blah, blah. No, it ain't. Like there's a bunch of folks who are just normal there who are trying to defend their homes. They're, kind of either between center right and moderate left. It's not being overrun by a fascist government and repeating the Russian propaganda that is being put out in order to justify a potential invasion because they want to, stop Ukraine from being taken over by, Western fascist puppets or whatever nonsense they're putting out. It's ridiculous too. They want their own autonomy. They have their own culture. They have their own distinct thing that is in connection to Russia, but is its own distinct culture and situation. And Russia's justification for this, like their kind of real motivator, is that the connection between those two countries that's existed over the centuries is being lost because they are looking at doing things like joining NATO. They've had closer ties with the European Union, stuff like that. And that doesn't actually justify an invasion. Putin's talked about this stuff all the time. It's a, we are the same people type of thing. It's a nationalist argument to move forward with this stuff. And we're going to wade into what is potentially a very deadly and messy civil war and expand that conflict into the region. There are things that we can do to help, to speak out, to, push back on Russia's involvement and have real consequences for that, since Russia is trying to expand its influence throughout Europe and places like Germany too, and other places as well. There are things that we could push back on with that and limit their ability to have soft power around the world because of them doing this. And it would probably weaken their power domestically to get involved in a messy civil war in Ukraine. I'm going to share a link if folks want to read more about this. It's a pretty good, it's from a guy named Johnny Harris. It does a pretty good overview of the kind of historical and political reasons why Putin's doing what he's doing. But we'll get back to, because I've kind of reviewed this. Brian says even the president of Ukraine says it isn't happening. Yeah, that's the weird part about the State Department accusation. Ukraine's no, what are you guys talking about? This isn't happening. We don't have evidence of this. And the U.S. kind of sticking, their nose in Ukraine's business right now, and I know there's some legitimate interest about like Europe and the expansion of Russian power in this case, but doing so in a haphazard way, again, making extraordinary accusations without providing hard evidence that accusation is true, especially given the track record of State Department, we'll just call them State Department lies in relation to things, again, like the justification for the war in Iraq and the actual situation on the ground in Afghanistan with our very, very messy withdrawal. And again, I supported getting out of Afghanistan. That's a great thing. The execution of that was the problem. That was the issue with that. It wasn't actually going out. And we ought to be careful about how our influence, and by our, I mean how the U.S. government's influence in this situation, again, can turn people against us and undercut the legitimacy of actual Ukrainian movements to make sure that they fight off what is a takeover by Russia. And again, I think it's actually, I want one aside about this, which is fascinating. I've seen some memes about this, is that you got a bunch of folks over there who are buying like AR-15s and other stuff, and it's like, oh, here's this grandma buying like a hunting rifle, and it's like, talking about like defending their homes, and it's like, oh, that's that's an accurate portrayal of what's happening, and we as Americans should and ought to have that same right. It's interesting to see how the media kind of spins that situation, but neither side has to be the good guy here. That again, I just say you don't have to buy into the Russian propaganda. Putin's not a good guy. He's not even a smart guy. This situation will probably cost him a lot of power if he takes things too far. And the U.S. getting involved isn't good either. I feel bad for the Ukrainian people who are stuck in this situation with imperialists from Russia and interlopers from the U.S. trying to stick their nose in their business when most of them are probably just trying to live their lives and go about their day providing for their family, just like the rest of us do. And one more comment. Brian says, Russia says only conducting exercise within its own borders. Should Mexico get upset every time we have an exercise in the Southwest? I'll tell you what Russia is doing is a little bit more aggressive than that. They put 100,000 troops along the Ukrainian border, ostensibly because they said they're worried about an invasion from Ukraine, which is also nonsense. And they're doing some things that are aggressive. Like there's some fake news that's come out of that, because there's also rumor that they were stockpiling blood and building hospitals there, which would seem to indicate, that they were going to make that a line in an invasion. That turns out is another claim that was made by the U.S. government and others that was without evidence. So again, Russia, not the good guy, definitely being aggressive in this situation. And they could be the cause of something that is going to kill a lot of people in that region. They're going to possibly just seize territory. We'll see if it actually plays out that way. Watch that video that I posted in the comments. Again, if you're listening on the radio, you'll have to go follow us on a Free Solution, the Facebook page, Free Solution YouTube channel, Kevin Wilson pages, Kevin Wilson Twitter. Any one of those, it'll be up there. Check out the video, the YouTube video I posted, which gives a pretty good overview of what's happening there. The point is, don't believe the State Department. They're not always telling you the truth. Again, surprise, folks, the government doesn't always have your best interests in mind and isn't always going to be honest with you. That's your lesson for today. Again, thanks for joining us today on A Free Solution. I will be back on Friday. But tomorrow, make sure you check out Larry Sharp Wednesday. Listen to Craig, Thursday Tim. Talk to you then. Have a great week, folks.